So, Worldwide Rush just released the 16th blog post of the development of the game, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff coming in here. We're seeing things like 10x performance improvements. We have a lot of changes to the hub managers and how the AI works, making the hub managers way more reliable, which is something that I've been really struggling with in my playthrough, for example. And also AI companies are a little bit more competitive and a little bit more interesting to engage with. So yeah, really, really good stuff. We're also seeing some notorious bugs finally being squished. So super happy to see that. All right, so you guys probably are going now, hey, Keanomy, I didn't get an update. What's this? Why do you have an update and I don't have an update? Okay, there is an update. I'm going to show you how to get to it. Just follow along at home, and you should be having it downloaded on your computer, and you can play it in just a few minutes. So, first and foremost, in Steam, we're going to have to go to the library. We're going to have to find our Worldwide Rush playthrough, and we're going to right-click on that one, go to Properties. From here, we are heading directly over to the betas. This is considered a beta or a test phase. So in beta participation, you probably have none at the moment. If you want to play on the preview file, you want to end over on preview for previewing the next update and providing feedback. You can always go to the Discord to provide feedback for the developers, as well as using the leave feedback button in the game, which you can see right here. Really cool stuff. So once you've done this, please do keep in mind you want to probably back up your saves before you start up a new gameplay here, or at least make sure that you're not playing on a save that you really, really care about, because it's under development. There can be instabilities, bugs, feature missings. All of this stuff is possible when it comes to beta, okay? So just expect that. Okay, so once we are in game, not super much that are obviously visible. A lot of this is optimizations that are going on in the background, and also a few different UIs improvements that we're going to go through here. But most importantly, what you might notice if you are actually running a frame counter of some sort, so you can actually see your frames, so you can see your performance. You can see that this is a fairly heavy situation. We have a lot of aircraft, a lot of calculations going on in the background to make this work. And yeah, at 1x speed, it runs perfectly fine as usual. I'm at about 140 frames. If we go up to 2x speed, we're staying at 140 frames. And if we go up to 3x speed, we lose about 10 frames, 5 to 10 frames for a little bit, and kind of stays there. So significantly better improved performance here. And it's actually quite impressive. He's talking about 10x performance improvements. Some save files that the developers were trying with went from 6 frames per second all the way up to 60. So that's like completely broken to actually functioning. That's super impressive. A lot of this comes from things like the fireworks being improved, the road and the rail impact of the game's functionality working a lot better, and a bunch of other small optimizations in the background. So super, super good to see this. Another thing that has really good updates is the new setup for each of the vehicles. So you can see I have 1600 buses. This is just a test save. I just add everything to this save to see what I can do with the game, more or less. It's a lot of fun. A lot of these are not making very much money, of course, which is to be expected, but that's fine. A large change that has been done. If we open up one of these, it's not just the last month that we're seeing here, or the current month. We're actually seeing a 4-month average. So it's a rolling 4-month average, meaning that it's a lot easier to understand longer routes and things like that. That could be really impacted by 1 month. They are just not delivering passengers because they're traveling, right? So the 4-month rolling average, something that I know that the community has asked for a while, and now it's here. So good to see, good to see. Okay, another thing that you might have noticed when we were looking around over here in the stats is we have this little tags on the left-hand side here. This allows us to select multiple vehicles. So say that we would like to pick up all of the vehicles here, and these 6 vehicles here, you can see they're not making very much money. Ignore everyone else. But these are clearly above like 500,000 not making money, right? That's not okay. We need we can either delete all of them, so that just gets rid of them, Or we could downgrade them to a different vehicle. And we have the same filters here. So we can say that we want to have road vehicles. And we would like to have only Vortex, of course. And we would like to go with Hades, and they just update automatically for us. Another thing that we could do is we could go into here and we can say anything that is below like 30, right? And then we can bump this one up to 1%. That gives us all of the vehicles that are at least doing something, but not very efficiently. And then we can just select all of these vehicles and we can say, you guys are not doing anything, so you're fired. So the mass edit is really, really nice that way. And this is available in a lot of different places. So if we go to one of our hub managers, we have the same situation right here. We can select all of the hub vehicles and we can go and delete those. We can also make sure that we select all of the airplanes, for example. Something that I would like to see here is maybe a way to filter, so I can actually use the all button and still be able to replace. That would be really nice. Give me just another button to filter out specific vehicles. That would be super nice. But yeah, for now we can of course go in and select specific vehicles here to be working with. And we can again go in and just select any vehicle that we would like to upgrade to. Of course, I'm still on the Vortex. This is not what we want. We want to have airplanes, and we can go and we can upgrade every one that we just selected to a Stratus 420. Because blaze it. Yes. Another thing that has been improved with the more recent updates is the AI. So large part of the AI's changes is in kind of how it behaves. It's really hard to show you on a video like this. You kind of just have to listen to me yap on about it for a little bit. More or less the short version of it, I would say, is that it seems like the AI is now maybe utilizing different vehicles a little bit more. Previously, it was very common to have a company that was just strictly doing air travel, for example. I had one of those down here in Asia, for example, where there is a few roads, but I think these honestly has been built recently. There was a long time in this playthrough where there was just nobody over here. Not a single person who was actually flying around in or driving around on any cars or any vehicles of any sort. So now the AI should be a little bit better at that. Right now I own all of this, so there's actually only 2 companies in this playthrough. But that's always an option. Another cool thing that they changed for the AIs is that we now have a shares system. So if we go over to the AI right here, we have the opportunity right now to buy shares from the AI. You can also purchase your own shares, meaning that you can kind of fight back someone trying to aggressively buy you out. So no more will you be in a situation where you feel like you're doing fine, and then someone just suddenly buys you out completely. Which is really nice. That's pretty good. In this, there's also a dividends payout. Having different shares with different companies initially gives you 20% in dividends. You can see that on the screen right there as well. And once you own 100%, you are able to, of course, control the whole company. And from the point where you own 50% of the company, you will be able to actually specify the dividends yourself. So you should be able to actually set up a completely different setup. We will jump over to a different save here. All right, so we're now at a point, this is more or less the same save, just later on. So I actually have all of the money that we need. I said different save. It's more or less the same save. Nonetheless, here we are. So United States group right here. We are now owning 50% of the company, and you can see that we are currently receiving 10% of the dividends, which is really nice. If we were to go above 50% now, we can go buy those shares and we can actually manage this company and say, hey, I would like all of your profit. So all of your profits will now go as dividends, meaning that I will receive 63% of the dividends instead of the previous 10% that I received. And they will no longer be making any money. So you will see their share prices is plummeting. also builds really well into if they add multiplayer at some point. This is going to be a really cool system to actually have a back and forth with all of the competitors in a game. All right, we're continuing to the hub managers, more changes. Let's go back to Europe where we live. And over here in Europe, one of my biggest ones that I have, I think, is actually Warsaw over here. Warsaw is kind of busy. But we have a hub manager here that we can play around with and see what they do now. So it's a little bit different to how it worked before. Main change that happened is that if we find somewhere where we don't have a hub manager right now, we can go to Kharkiv, for example. Let's buy a hub and let's take a look at the hub manager. You can see that the taxes is now increased. It's up to 40%. So you want to be a little bit more careful with where you put down actual hub managers. If there is a really small city, it probably doesn't make sense anymore to put down a hub manager. They will just cost a bunch of money for you. And the actual management of said city is so small that it probably makes more sense to just take a small loss if you don't want to just go back to it over and over again and manage it yourself, until the city actually has a few locations that it actually needs to serve. Once that happens, I think it's easier to add a hub manager and pay for it that way. Once we have added said hub manager, we can do it right here. We still have the same goals, so we can either expand or we can maintain routes. The setup and the priorities for the manager is more or less the same. Maintain routes, the manager will continue to work with the current routes, so whatever is there, it will keep profitable and make sure that it's running efficiently. Adding new vehicle, removing new vehicles, all of that thing will still be there. The bigger thing that it has changed is how it's selecting vehicles. I don't really have full insight in how this works, but I think it's similar to how the AI does it. And with that, I kind of expect it to be that it's just selecting a vehicle that makes maybe more sense. So instead of just upgrading one grade, maybe it can do two, or if it downgrades something, maybe it can take into account a longer period of time of how much vehicles we need on a trip. I'm actually not sure. Let me know in the comments if you have a good understanding of that part. I don't. I do not. Another few things that the hub manager now has available is that you can select which kind of vehicles the hub is supposed to use. For a long while, the hub manager loved to put in airplanes everywhere, especially on expanding the routes. So I think if I add expanding here, we add some vehicles. Eventually, I think this guy will literally just start spamming vehicles, like spamming airplanes. At least on the old version, it did that. Maybe now it's smart enough to understand that, hey, I can use cars really cheaply to go in between like short trips, which is good. So you actually have the opportunity now to actually control exactly which vehicles it is using, down to which company is being used actually. So even on the minute scale, you can change around this. So if you just wanted to do road vehicles, you can tell him to do that. You can only do airplanes, you can only do ships, trains, and so on. You can select multiple vehicles. You want to only do road and planes, you can do that. You can only do trains, and so on. All of those are available to him. Or you can tell him to not do anything. Just sit there, cost me money, please. That's an option, I guess. And then you can also select if you want him to actually build roads or if you want him to actually build rails. These I don't think will have an impact if you're on maintained routes. I don't think he will actually build new routes at any point, which means that, yeah, those don't really do a difference when it comes to maintaining. But for the expanding city option, it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference. I think the option to expand and also select that we don't want it to use planes and ships, for example, and also not build new roads. I think that makes expanding city a little bit more usable than it was before. I still think I prefer the maintained routes one, but it's at least an option. Another thing that has changed is the option to make different configurations. So you can now go in and you can select every month how much budget he's supposed to keep. So if you want him to always have 30 grand on hand, so that if something happens, he can always invest 30 grand into a new vehicle, you can put a budget for 30 grand, or you can leave the game on auto and the game will kind of calculate it itself. Seems to be working fairly well for me, but it might be some specific niche cases where you would like to set it yourself. You can also decide when the AI should actually pay out money. So instead of paying out each month, you can tell it that, hey, when you're at 20 million, please pay out the money that you have at that point. And this works together with the budget. So if you increase the budget that he's supposed to have, say we want to have 20 grand, and then all of a sudden the payout limit is at 40 grand because that still leaves the budget left, of course. So that's pretty cool. That works. We can also reset those and then we can make a default. This means that if we, for example, say that we want you to be on expand and we want you to keep 42 grand, and when you're at 88, I want you to pay it out. We can go here and we can make that a default. I would like to see some sort of notification here. Maybe just a little pop-up, not something that you have to click on, just a green check mark. Hey, you did it, it worked. And then if we go to right here, for example, in Sumi, we can buy ourselves a new hub manager, and that hub manager will take the exact same settings that we set up for Kharkiv just a little bit ago. So it will have Expand City, it will have the same budget limitations, so that way it's a little bit easier to set up new hubs all the time, which is super nice to see. Alright, so that was kind of the general overview of the actual in-game changes. There's a few different other changes to take a look at as well. If we head back to the main menu right here, one of the more nice changes is that when we start up a game in the discovery mode here, we now have the opportunity to actually select country. So select a country with at least 3 cities to start in. Starting in a country with 1 city is going to be really hard, so I guess that makes sense. Don't really see a reason not to allow us to do that, but hey, it's up to you. We of course still have the option to have a random start. You start wherever you want to, and you can also select if you have a specific one that you would really like to go to. Say that you are from Ireland and you would really like to start in Dublin. You can do that. Other things that we can do around here, well, once we start up a new game, I'm just going to start one on random right here, we are able to go into a little bit of a tutorial. So previously there was this message as usual, so just informing us kind of what we need to do. What happens now is that we actually get a proper tutorial as well. So in the top left-hand corner here, I won't go through it, but at least we have it available. So it explains the discovery mode and how to actually play the game. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think they've done some pretty good updates in this 1.1 update. It is good to see them continuing to support the game. Another really cool thing is if we start a new classic game here, we call it a test company. And we go into this one and we say, down here in Spain, we want to go in Barcelona and we want to start in Barcelona, buy our first hub manager. And we can just tell him to go, I don't know, take all of my money and just go somewhere. Can you do that? Just head out, dude. You're fine. Go. There we go. So we set up a new game right here. If we now go and we hit on exit to menu and we start up a new game. First and foremost, what they have changed is that it keeps the company name that we have here. So a test company is now selected. We can go and add a test company 1. This is our new save that we're playing, right? So we can do that. We can go into start game. And a really interesting little quirk that they have added right now. I kind of like this. It's a nice little gimmick. All of a sudden we have 2 It's a Test company. Cool, right? So your old playthroughs kinda exists as AIs now. And with that, if we unwind the game here, we kinda get to fight ourselves. So it doesn't really build exactly what you did build before, but it's your company name and your company logo that will be available for the AI in the coming little bits here, which is really cool. The shares themselves, I think I missed to mention this before, but the shares will not be available in the early game, so it will take a few months until the shares unlock and you will be able to actually start purchasing your competition, making sure that you're not just bought out the first thing that happens in the game. So that's pretty cool. Together with all of these updates, there was also a few different other things. A lot of graphical polish, some buttons that did not change colors, some changes to how roads and the rails are actually drawn, which is kind of cool. And most importantly, they finally fixed the issue with indirect traffic. So finally we can actually have people go in the direction they need to go, and they will actually join on routes the way they're supposed to as well, which is so nice. Thank you. We can finally continue our playthrough of Worldwide Rush. Our discovery should now work again. If you're interested in seeing that, there will be a link in the description with the playlists that we have for Worldwide Rush. So you can jump in there and just follow along there. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, you can always subscribe and do all the buttons down below, like the video, leave a comment, all of that. All of that. And yeah, that's gonna be me ending this video. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.